We have started to record the most recent session of SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking, for the first summer session. It is Tuesday, June 20th, 2023. We're going to be looking at persuasive speech topic selection today, but I'm going to immediately go to Blackboard to remind you of something that is going to be required of all of you during the last week of class, specifically no later than the last day. This is at the syllabus. We have all of the speeches worth 20 points. We have class participation, which is worth 10 points. And you can see the self-evaluation speech critique worth 10 points, sent ideally to my Yahoo address, due Thursday, June 29th. As you can see with the second bullet point, a realistic appraisal of personal improvement during the course, content, delivery, visuals. I have mentioned this on a number of occasions during the term, that it is important that all of you obviously watch every last minute of every last course video to learn quality content, quality delivery, quality visuals. But at the same time, in this interactive era of social media and FaceTime, more and more your public speaking skills and interpersonal abilities are going to be shown on video in the way that we're doing it now. How can you manipulate that in a proper ethical manner to maximize your ability as a speech communicator? That's really important. In many of my courses in past years, we would have students write critiques of their peers. But in this case online, knowing how you sound, knowing how you look, knowing that everything that you do with text and images is going to be strictly evaluated by individuals in your realm of influence is vital. At this location, on page 5 of the syllabus, and then page 4, with supplemental information, a link to my website, which we'll come back to, a link to my Twitter, electronic submission of assignments, ideally everything goes to Yahoo, and then down here to projects with the demonstrative speech, the informative speech, the persuasive speech, the wildcard speech, the self-evaluation speech critique, and class participation all add up. That's why writing the speech critique, analyzing yourself with all of those takes that we don't see. Where are the dead spots? How can you improve overall in the long run as someone who is an effective communicator and public speaker especially? I wanted to start off with that because I'm transitioning into something that was sent to me during the first summer session, I should say during the fall intersession of 2020. In December of that month, this is one of the self-evaluation speech critiques that I received. From the fall intersession of 2020, this is a self-evaluation speech critique from Carly. It is a realistic example, as I showed you with 3 of them yesterday, of what you're going to be writing. It doesn't have to be in a Word document. It can be something very similar to this. Professor Reppert, I feel that I have improved insurmountably in my speech giving abilities throughout the course. My entire life, I have struggled with public speaking. Every time I even thought about having to speak in front of people, I would break out into hives and become very red around my neck. Throughout your course, I could feel my anxiety levels about speaking dwindling down because of the tools and assistance you provided me. I took pictures of the redness I had spoken about. The first one is from the informative speech, and the second is from the wild card. The redness totally disappeared because of how much more prepared I was for the speech. The change I have experienced throughout the 4 speeches has changed my life and my anxiety about giving speeches forever. If it wasn't for your class and instruction, I would still be afraid to speak in public, and for that, I thank you so very much. So that is from Carly. The fall intersession of 2020 was during the pandemic, during the month of December. It had exactly 19 sessions, exactly the same as what you're doing during the first summer session of 2023. The photos on the bottom are 2 weeks apart. This is from her informative speech. This is from her wild card. As you can see on the right-hand side, she has broken out a little bit. She's being very honest about the nervousness that was very prevalent before her first two speeches. Notice the difference on the right-hand side when we get to the wild card. Look very closely. The nervousness is gone. Informative, wild card. Informative, a little nervous with the breakout. Wild card 2 weeks later, not a problem. You don't necessarily have to be that open and honest with me to tell you how you were breaking out before a speech, but it's not unusual for all of us to be nervous before a presentation. I will get nervous, and even though I've been a college professor for many years, I feel that nervousness is a good thing. We all want to succeed. Nothing that we do will ever be as perfect as we want to make it. But as you can see from this self-evaluation speech critique, breaking yourself down in a constructive, positive manner can only help you in the long run. That brings us back to Blackboard. We will return to the content location in the student preview mode. What's going to be coming up? Here's our course itinerary. I will go through our 2 class sessions this week and the final week of the course. So we've got Persuasive Speech Day 1, June 21, Persuasive Speech Day 2, June 22, so that's Wednesday and Thursday of this week. Then we get to the final 4 days of the course next week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Wildcard speech research, wildcard speech topic selection 1 week from today. Now remember, guys, wildcard speeches, you can talk about anything that you want. I feel it's important in a course like this for you to end on a high note. What better way to do that than to talk about something that you feel very strongly about, as long as you're not repeating an item that you may have discussed earlier in the term. Wildcard speech Day 1, June 28, Wednesday, and June 29, Thursday, the last of the 19 course sessions, wildcard speech Day 2. If you decide earlier in the week to send me the self-evaluation speech critique, that certainly is okay. In the student preview mode, returning to the syllabus and the course speech schedule. As long as I receive these for either day 1 or day 2, no later than noon or 12:30 on Wednesday or Thursday, you'll be fine. I can tell you right now, I already have material in my email that is 1 or 2 different links to Loom presentations that are persuasive for day 1. And that's nice to see how far ahead we're getting ahead of the game. So with that in mind, taking an early look at a self-evaluation speech critique, because that video playback, as I say so often and unapologetically so, is essential to your long-term improvement. Do you sound persuasive? Do you have a full set of slides? And by full, I mean the full screen set up for slides. As you well know, usually on the second day when we're looking at topic selection, we'll show you different kinds of videos that were recorded on YouTube. And that's what we're doing today, in addition to some Loom presentations. But before we do that, let's go to my Google Drive by the end of class, I will go to the website. This is exactly the same setup, but on my Google Drive, which is uploaded to my website, the view from my perspective is slightly different. On the website, when you scroll down far enough, you will eventually get beyond demonstrative, group discussion, which was done in the past, and informative outlines, video, audio presentations, getting down to what has been done for persuasive speeches. In this case, we start right here at animal abuse. What types of persuasive speech topics on a representative basis through the years have we had? Animal abuse, animal cruelty, attending a public school, awareness of Alzheimer's, breast cancer prevention, comic books, not just for kids, cupping therapy. That was from an international student. That is fascinating and certainly very graphic visually. Do tattoos change a person's character? Drinking and driving. Get involved. That was with your community and community-based activities. Illegal drugs. Importance of medical IDs. In fashion or bad fashion. That was a humorous interpretation of a persuasive speech. Misconceptions about Muslims today from an international student from Saudi Arabia. The one-child policy in China, which I think is now two-child. Online education as an effective educational method. That was an excellent breakdown of a persuasive outline. Pet adoption. A persuasive graphic on the front with a puppy. Please adopt me. Pit bull ownership. Prevent school violence. Restorative plastic surgery. Something like Doctors Without Borders rather than something that's just for vanity's sake. SAU going green, that was recycling. Staying in shape, stop bullying, sunscreen, teaching humanities in schools, the land of plenty, the idea behind that speech that there's a lot of food waste that takes place every day in the US. Tipping servers to save a life, childhood leukemia. Traveling with Airbnb, that was very good, again, from an international student's perspective on traveling primarily in the United States. Understanding schizophrenia, vegetarian diet, violent video games and children, the importance of voting, wear a motorcycle helmet, winter is always better. And then we get into audio presentations, medicinal marijuana, why children should start sports at an early age, why you should exercise, being a great father, built up for life. Now we transition into videos, cartoons, why animation is an important and useful medium. We saw that earlier during the first week of the course. Close SeaWorld, we saw that yesterday. Finding a church family, saw that yesterday. Heartworm prevention for dogs. Improving education, we saw that yesterday. Positive co-parenting, saw that. Pursuing celebrity lifestyles, that probably will be shown today. Road trip, do not fly. Talk to someone about your problems, that was from this course 3 years ago. Time does fly, first summer of 2020. The importance of kindness, saw that yesterday. Why the moon landing couldn't be faked. That was from 1 year ago this week. Why you should attend college. I liked it even though we're not in the slideshow mode officially. Why you should never work in the food industry. That's 1 year ago. Jocelyn Keller, the first person who ever sent me something by Loom. Why you should not procrastinate. I showed you that earlier, but I'm going to reinforce that and show you again today. Why you should recycle. why you should set goals. We saw that yesterday from Finley Blair. And then we get into wild card topics, which can literally be anything that you want to discuss, but literally ending at why you should set goals with persuasive speech videos, persuasive speech audios, and then all the way up to a little bit higher up to animal abuse right here. From that point on, they're in alphabetical order. So there literally are dozens of items that you can look at in addition to watching the course videos from yesterday and today to give you more ideas in terms of, first of all, content. How can you organize your text, images, interactivity if appropriate, whether it's a website or a video, to maximize your ability as a researcher? And then double check the slides for spelling, grammar, syntax, design consistency, including punctuation, design consistency also with the font size and style for your headlines and for your bullet points. Remember, when you're putting together those slideshows, first and foremost, organize them all in such a manner that's going to make certain your extemporaneous ability can be stimulated by looking at a text or an image. If you put something in a complete sentence structure, you're reading it rather than trying to be expressive. If there's a slight hesitation in your delivery, and sometimes that happens with me and all of us, it's because you're making a conscious effort to remain extemporaneous, looking at a piece of text or looking at a visual. That's going to stimulate your ability, ideally, among other things, to remain smooth and fewer vocalics, ers, ahs, ums, uhs, issues with grammar, gonna, wanna, kinda, like, I mean, you know, dropped G's. Hopefully, I am a good steward and practice what I preach with as few of those as possible. That's why I always, again, say don't throw away any of those video takes where you make a boo-boo. Where do you have intentional pause, a slip up? Do you need to turn around the order of your slides? Do you need to change the wording on a particular slide, whether it be a headline or something in a bullet point? And then here's the other thing. Where are you going to place your webcam when the slideshow is full? Where can you place your webcam in such a place where you're not going to obscure text or images? Don't move around your webcam during a speech. Don't move around a visual during a speech. Always go full screen and then determine where is there dead space where I can have a consistent look to my speech with the location and size of the webcam, which is why Jocelyn Keller's procrastination speech during the pandemic, spring 2020, is going to be shown to you again because she utilizes a larger slide. Or do you take your slides and make them a little bit smaller and then inserting your webcam in a portion of the screen where you know no text or no image is going to be obscured? Attention to details matter, including lighting, how everything looks behind you, depending upon how you've got your webcam set up. Remember, when you're persuading us, you don't want to rhetorically beat us over the head. You want to be more subtle. There are so many people out in the world who are much smarter than us or more thoughtful than us, and that's okay. You're not necessarily trying to say, you must think my way or else. You must think my way or else. Just get them to evaluate your own topic, your own persuasive topic from your perspective. Again, from all of these topics that you've seen on the screen and what you're going to be seeing today, in addition to 24 hours ago with the videos, they don't necessarily have to be ultra serious. But what's important to you? And how can you reinforce that? Through quality visuals, through quality analysis, and most importantly, quality research, and be honest and thoughtful in your respective analyses, no matter what the topics are. Which brings us to the first of many different examples of persuasive speeches. YouTube is going to be first. because some of you will be recording on your smartphone. From the fall semester of 2020, someone that you have seen before. This is Matt Huffman. Matt's demonstrative speech was on being a volunteer fireman. His informative speech was on how gastric bypass surgery had saved his life. Now we move on to his persuasive speech, again, setting it up in the multimedia area of his church. And this is on arming staff at schools. It's got artificial intelligence set up with an introduction, gunfire on school grounds, armed staff, school response, and it goes to the end. Closed captioning is on, as we always do for these presentations shot on smartphones, because not everyone is going to speak in an ultra loud fashion. Our first persuasive speech of the day from the fall semester of 2020 on armed staff at schools. Here's Matt.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Matt Huffman, and tonight I'm going to be doing my persuasive speech. I would like for you to not look at yourself as me presenting it to the class. I would like for you to look at yourself as a school board member of a school district, or the parent of a student that goes to that school district, because my topic tonight is armed staff at schools. And I'm going to be doing the presentation as if I were giving it to the school board or to the parents to persuade them that we need to protect our children. So, gunfire on school grounds in the United States. An article by CNN: since 2008 or 2009 to 2018, there have been at least 177 school shootings on K-12 campuses. In all of those shootings, there were 356 victims. Out of those 356 victims, there were 115 killed. Their data shows that these shootings are increasing in the United States. In 2009, there was 13 shootings. Now you can't see the graphic real good, but I'm going to present that to you. In 2010, there were 8 shootings. In 2011, there was 12. 2012, there was 7. In 2013, there was 12. And right around the time of 2014 is when it starts picking up. In 2014, there was 20 shootings. In 2015, there was 17. 2016, there was 35. In 2017, 29. And in 2018, there was 29. So there's 2 types of armed staff. There is a school resource officer, which the United States Department of Justice defines a school resource officer as a sworn law enforcement officer responsible for safety and crime prevention in schools. The National Association of School Resource Officers estimates that there are between 14 and 20,000 nationwide. There's another type, it's a commissioned school security officer. This is a private security officer who has completed additional training and who has been granted authorization by the Arkansas State Police to carry a firearm while on public school property, K-12 campuses. This can be an administrator, a teacher, a paraprofessional, or any staff member at a school district. So let's take a look at responses if there was a armed person that come onto our campus. So the law enforcement response, our city has 1 full-time police officer, and that full-time police officer is the SRO for our district, and they have 3 part-time police officers. Now, the 3 part-time police officers only work nights and on the weekends, so they would not be around during the day, only the SRO. The county sheriff's office is 25 miles away from us. There's 3 to 5 deputies on at any given time on a shift. If you look at it during the day, there's other sheriff's office personnel that are working, and that's usually about 15. So you're looking at about 18 to 20 personnel from the sheriff's office that could respond to our district. The average response time from the sheriff's office, if they were all at the sheriff's office, is 15 to 20 minutes. If there was a deputy close within 10 miles, he could be there in about 5 to 10, somewhere around in there. The closest town with a full-time officer on duty is 9.5 miles away, and it'll take him about 5 to 10, 15 minutes to get here as well. But according to the FBI, active shooter incidents were over 69.8% of the time in 5 minutes or less. So if we were to have an active shooter come on our campus, it could be done in 5 minutes. If our SRO is taken out right then, right off the bat, then the shooting will be over with by the time that anybody else gets there. So let's look at the school's response. So our school has close to approximately 45 teachers in grades K through 12, and approximately about the same amount in support staff like paraprofessionals, the janitorial crew, the cafeteria crew, building maintenance. So we would like to put 12 trained staff members that are armed. This is not including the SRO. Each member will be strategically placed throughout the school, elementary, middle school, high school. So now our response time is from minutes, if we were to rely on law enforcement, to seconds, because once the gunfire is heard, our teachers can secure their room and go engage whoever is doing the shooting on campus. The staff members will also be trained in basic first aid, CPR, stop the bleed, how to use tourniquets, AEDs, that kind of stuff. So that's our response time. Now let's look at the cost that would be associated with doing this. So if we were to add another school resource officer, because I know some of you would probably feel better about adding another law enforcement officer instead of arming teachers. So, but adding another SRO, the cost of adding another school resource officer to our district would be about $35,000 a year, because that's what his salary will be. Plus, you got to think about the cost of another vehicle that will be outfitted for that school resource officer. Depending on the vehicle, the equipment that you put in it, you're looking at about $30,000 right off the top for that. And then the upkeep of that vehicle would be close to $10,000 plus a year. That's insurance, maintenance, oil changes, gas, stuff like that. So then arming teachers, the upfront cost would be close to $23,000. That's for the company to come in, train our 12 teachers, and then it's around $5,000 each year for continued training. Then we would like to give a one-time stipend to each teacher, each staff member that we're going to arm, of about $1,200, and that will allow them to go buy their gun, holsters, ammo, anything like that that they need to do their job. So you're looking at the first year around $37,000 for 12 staff members, and then the 5 years additional a year, and then additional training after that. So what are the benefits? The benefits is that you, as a parent or a school board member, could have peace of mind that your child, student will be protected at all times throughout the day. So now you've went from one armed staff member to 13. You have 13 guns on campus now that can stop anything that were to come do harm to our children. And know that we will do whatever it takes to protect your students and our students. In the long run, it will save the district money, not having to pay another SRO every year. And protection will be immediate when the threat happens and not afterwards. So I want to thank you for listening to my speech today. Have a good night.
As we have been doing with everyone this week, going back to the last 90 seconds, evaluating how each of these individuals are using text, images, delivery, eye contact, in this case with Matt, as with everyone that you've seen this week, the more that you record, from demonstrating to informing to persuading, just by nature, by rote, R-O-T-E, you're going to look more comfortable on camera. You're going to get rid of that lack of self-confidence. You just go ahead and work to the best of your ability to reinforce, in this case, what your persuasive thesis is. And that's what he's trying to do. Does he come across as sincere in his belief about arming staff at schools? Do his visuals associate with that, as you can see with cost associated, as he wraps up his presentation? Let's check it out one more time, the last 90 seconds, and then look at his slides.
That's insurance, maintenance, oil changes, gas, stuff like that. So then arming teachers, the upfront cost would be close to $23,000. That's for the company to come in, train our 12 teachers, and then it's around $5,000 each year for continued training. Then we would like to give a one-time stipend to each teacher, each staff member that we're going to arm, of about $1,200, and that will allow them to go buy their gun, holsters, ammo, anything like that that they need to do their job. So you're looking at the first year around $37,000 for 12 staff members, and then the 5 years additional training, a year, and then additional training after that. So what are the benefits? The benefits is that you, as a parent or a school board member, could have peace of mind that your child, student will be protected at all times throughout the day. So now you've went from 1 armed staff member to 13. You have 13 guns on campus now that can stop anything that were to come do harm to our children. And know that we will do whatever it takes to protect your students and our students. In the long run, it will save the district money, not having to pay another SRO every year. And protection will be immediate when the threat happens and not afterwards. So I want to thank you for listening to my speech today. Have a good night.
When you're evaluating, especially persuasive speeches, whether you agree or disagree with the premise is not the point. Are each of these individuals, for their respective presentations, reinforcing their thesis? Do they come across looking more poised from week to week to week? Now it's the 3rd out of 4 major presentations. He certainly does. Doesn't appear nervous. You can tell he's been practicing. His posture is something where he is in command at the podium. He's also tightened up his webcam shot, or I should say his shot on the smartphone. Is he speaking in complete sentences? Absolutely, because we'll be doing this not only with the YouTube speeches, but anything on Loom. Just scrolling back, taking a quick look at his design consistency with any costs that are associated with this, what the school's response might be, again, looking toward the camera, arming the staff, trying to be natural with his hand gestures. I don't talk a lot about that, because if I start talking about it a lot, then you're going to be self-conscious and feel like you're waving around your hands like you're working on the tarmac, bringing in an airplane. Whatever is natural for you is going to work. So we go from the law enforcement response, and again, there he is, just looking directly at the camera, being very sincere, to the types of armed staff, looking at his notes, whether it's the SRO or the commissioned school security officer, all of those bullet points. He's got 2 for each of his subset areas. And then transitioning back, again, looking at the camera, very poised, got his hand out. Gunfire on school grounds in the United States with shootings. Now, this is before Uvalde and others, going back a few years. You notice that he did say gonna. That came up in the closed captioning. And then moving back to the beginning of the speech, and two different areas where he is again being very natural with his hand gestures. Matt did a nice job on discussing his persuasive concept of armed staff at schools. That moves us on to our next participant who recorded by YouTube. You saw this speech during the first week of class, and I told you then some of these I would show you more than once. This is from someone who was one of my mass communication majors on a topic that she felt strongly about, recorded in spring 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic. This is Mackenzie Turner, also off of her smartphone, in the living room of her parents' home in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, why great white sharks are the deadliest animal in the ocean. So we move from arming staff at schools with Matt to great white sharks with Mackenzie.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie Turner, and I'll be doing my persuasive presentation on why great white sharks are the deadliest animals in the ocean. The animal itself. The great white shark is the largest predatory fish on Earth. They can grow up to 20 feet in length and weigh up to 2.5 tons. Their color is a slate gray on top to blend in with the ocean floor, and a white belly, which is where they get their name. They move slow but can reach speeds up to 15 miles per hour and completely propel themselves out of the water. As you can see from this picture, the shark has completely jumped out of the water, which is a pretty hard task for such a heavy and large fish. And you can see that slate gray color on the top and that white belly on the bottom. The location where are these sharks found? The great white shark is found in oceans across the world. The Atlantic, Pacific, Indian, and Arctic oceans make up the large global ocean that covers approximately 71% of this planet. That's pretty crazy because that means that these great white sharks could be found anywhere on 71% of the planet. Only about 5% of these waters have been explored by humans due to the fact that its depths can reach up to 7 miles to the seafloor. And over here you'll see an image where it shows those 7 miles and what we can find in them. And the great white sharks are usually found around right here unless they're going to hunt, and then they'll move up to the surface area. The competitors for the title of most dangerous animal. The competitors of the deadliest are a broad group, as some are deadly for multiple different reasons. The saltwater crocodile has the strongest bite in the sea. The bull shark has the strongest bite out of all the sharks. The blue whale is the largest and strongest animal in the ocean. And the tiger shark will eat anything in its path. So how do these compare to the great white shark? Obviously, the saltwater crocodile having the strongest bite is a big deal, but you don't see them biting anything other than what they eat. And they don't eat anything other than fish or small birds that rest around the banks. The bull shark has the strongest bite out of all the sharks, but they're much smaller than the great white shark. They're aggressive, but not known to attack humans as much or really eat anything bigger than themselves. The blue whale is obviously the largest, so that's going to be something pretty scary, but they're not going to hurt anything. It's a whale. They're just going to eat shrimp and stuff like that. And then the tiger shark will eat anything in its path. Obviously, this is a very dangerous animal, but they're not as known to attack humans, which makes it the most deadliest animal for us. Why the great white shark deserves this title. The great white shark is the most dangerous ocean animal to humans. Their mouths house around 300 teeth in multiple rows. As you can see, these giant front teeth, there's multiple rows behind them, and as soon as one falls out, another one pops in its place, so they never run out. In 2019, there were 140 reported attacks. 64 of them were unprovoked. So what this means is that out of these 140 attacks, 64 of them, the person was just sitting there, was just sitting on their surfboard, was just swimming in the water, did absolutely nothing to the shark, and the shark still attacked them. Their attacks on humans are not a feeding frenzy, but a simple mistake. So what this means is that the shark simply mistakes us for a seal or a sea turtle or another big fish that they're just trying to get their mouths on. and they just come up and bite us and try to take us home for dinner. The ultimate predator. Great white sharks can sense blood from miles away and use its nostrils to tell direction. Picture an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and you have a little dropper, and you drop one drop of blood in it. The shark will immediately know when that drop of blood is in that huge swimming pool. And then using their nostrils to tell direction, whichever nostril they smell the blood from, whether it's the left or the right, that's the direction they know that they need to head in to go find what it is that's bleeding. These sharks will stalk their prey to watch for an attack. This is something very different than their competitors. A great white shark will swim underneath its prey and watch for a little bit just to know when to go in and when is the best time to attack. Great white sharks attack from beneath, and they use an ambush technique to attack their prey. So this means that they'll swim deep and then come up from the bottom, and pretty much their prey has no idea that they're coming. And the ambush technique plunges them out of the water. They take a big bite and then see if they need to come back in to finish their prey off, or if they'll just die on their own, and then the great white shark can just take them home. So this is a video of how a shark attacks a seal. I'm not going to show you a human, it's a little much, but this shows you that ambush technique.
The shark relies on surprise.
And like you saw from that video, the shark completely propelled itself out of the water and took its prey with it, and that's how they get that surprise attack from underneath. And that, along with many of the reasons I stated, are why the great white shark is the most dangerous animal in the ocean.
As you've seen today, first with Matt, now with Mackenzie, how at ease they are in front of the camera. You really get rid of that, as I mentioned a moment ago, the self-awareness. The more you practice, the more you concentrate, the better you'll be. Pay particular attention to that in the last 90 seconds of her presentation as she sets up the relevance of playing the video on the great white shark and how she reinforces that concept of the thesis with her concluding remarks. Pay attention, as always, to the closed captioning for the complete sentence structure.
The shark relies on surprise.
And like you saw from that video, the shark completely propelled itself out of the water and took its prey with it. And that's how they get that surprise attack from underneath. And that, along with many of the reasons I stated, are why the great white shark is the most dangerous animal in the ocean.
So if you feel that bringing in an outside video clip to supplement, in this case, your persuasive comments are appropriate, that's certainly fine. In the case of Matt, he was speaking during the fall semester of 2020. Mackenzie is the spring of 2020. And our third presenter today is Mackenzie's classmate. We're going to have a presentation now from Addison Bennett talking about the benefits of being in a large family. She has this set up in a quiet place, her bedroom, and here it is from 3 years ago.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Addison, and tonight I'm going to be persuading you on why having 7 siblings is the best. So let's get into it. So number 1 is you're literally never bored. I can't be bored. I have 7 siblings, even though only like 4 of them are in this presentation. Life is always like a reality TV show. I personally would say that we're better than the Kardashians. I think we're funny. There's always a lot of drama, but it's like good drama. It's always funny. And we just always have a lot of laughs, and we always hang out and have fun. So this is a picture of us hiking with our dog, and then this is a family day when they came, and my sister Bella Kate and I rode the swings. Number 2 is you always have someone to lean on, whether it be someone in their late 20s or if it's someone who literally just hit double digits. You always have somebody who will be there for you and support you and just let you cry. And this is a picture of my brother. We were on FaceTime and we were both upset about school. 3, you're never alone, so you can get lonely. If I want to be alone, I have to lock up all my doors and be quiet so they don't think I'm in there. But even if I do lock my doors and they're not in here, they will always blow my phone up until they come in. Number 4 is you're always going to be entertained. Always. There's never a dull moment when there's a large group of people. So everyone's different, but everyone's also a lot alike. And it's always funny if there's beef, like, or if your siblings are fighting or arguing or beefing with one another, you can just sit back and watch. It's not that great when you're the one they're beefing with, but it's pretty funny if it's not you. So our Christmas card or our Christmas pictures were pretty funny because we were all at each other's throat, except for Maddox, the middle child, who was just hanging out. And then this is of a year ago today of my sister and I and like our whole family dyeing eggs. Her egg cracked. But yeah. So next are some honorable mentions of how it's always entertaining. There's always something happening, something. So for starters, these 2 videos right here are from New Year's Eve, like 4 or 5 years ago. And we made like 250 little smokies, like the little weenies that you put in like crock pots and stuff. So we made like 250 of them because there was a lot of us there. And Beckett, our youngest brother, he loved them. I think we maybe each had 10. So this kid probably had at least 160 smokies by himself, and he loves them.
What are you doing? Did you eat all the smokies?
So he ate at least 150 by himself, and there was only 9 left, and he ate the rest of them, and he was actually upset. He cried. He also did get very sick. He also broke his arm. But yes, as you can tell, it's always something in the house. Always something. Also, they are your permanent and forced best friends. I mean, you spend 24/7 together, like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with the same 7 people. You're bound to become best friends. And even though they get on your nerves, they're literally always there for you, which is the best. So, Beckett, again, he's kind of our craziest one. This is just a funny video of him. I love this video.
I don't think they say that. What do they say? Like moose. That's it. Look at me.
But yeah. Number 6 is you can't be embarrassed. So my shame is their shame. If I say something silly, it's okay. They've probably said something even sillier than I have, and it's always just fun. So no one can ever be embarrassed. Everyone's kind of clowns, to say the least. And last but not least, there's always enough people for games. We have game nights all the time, whether it's cards or board games or charades, anything. We never have to look at how many players you need to play the games because we know that we will always have enough because there's so many of us. So these are just some videos of us playing games. This one is us playing Uno, but it's really just the kids being crazy.
He's gonna get whipped. 2, 3, 4.
Just kidding. That was the one of us playing Pie Face. This one is the Uno one. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
What you see with Addison is the genuine joy that she has in persuading us that being in a large family is fun, it's rewarding, and in many of these cases, as you just saw with Mackenzie's speech on the great white shark, if you believe that incorporating video is going to help you further the thoughtfulness of your overall presentation, go ahead and do it. So in this case, let's go back to roughly about the last 90 seconds of her presentation. How is she wrapping this up? As first, with what we saw with Matt, and second, what we saw with Mackenzie. How is Addison being extemporaneous? How is she being persuasive? How is she coming across as an authentic persona in terms of being a quality public speaker? Pay particular attention to that and her complete sentence structure.
I don't think they say that. What do they say? Like moose. That's it. Look at me.
But yeah. Number 6 is you can't be embarrassed. So my shame is their shame. If I say something silly, it's okay. They've probably said something even sillier than I have, and it's always just fun. So no one can ever be embarrassed. Everyone's kind of clowns, to say the least. And last but not least, there's always enough people for games. We have game nights all the time, whether it's cards or board games or charades, anything. We never have to look at how many players you need to play the games because we know that we will always have enough because there's so many of us. So these are just some videos of us playing games. This one is us playing Uno, but it's really just the kids being crazy.
He's gonna get whipped. 2, 3, 4.
Just kidding. That was the one of us playing Pie Face. This one is the Uno one. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
How does your slide construction, whether it is the presentation by Addison looking at her family, whether it is looking at the great white shark, from Mackenzie, whether it is looking at arming school staff from Matt, how are all of those slides constructed in such a way to not only reinforce your thesis, but also make certain that you want to get your points across? So even though we're not looking at Addison slides back to back to back in reverse order, or Mackenzie's, think about how all of those are going to assist you in the long run in terms of not only being a storyteller, but in this case, as you can see from the joy on her face, not only that she's concluded her speech, but the fact that she really wanted to persuade us on the importance and joy of being in a large family. I always try to throw in some YouTube presentations that were recorded off of smartphones, primarily because, as you saw with one of our demonstrative speeches in this course with Fortnite, not everyone is going to be able to use Loom or Microsoft PowerPoint, where the visual is embedded usually in the bottom right-hand portion of the screen. So we transition from YouTube presentations to those on Loom. I wanted to give credit one more time to the first person who ever sent me a Loom in this course, and that is Jocelyn Keller. Also, for the reason that in this case, her persuasive speech, Why You Should Not Procrastinate, from spring 2020, also during the pandemic, how she was experimenting with a larger webcam shot. You could go square, you could go photo, you could go video. She decided to go a little bit larger, which means that her slides on the right-hand side are going to have to be accommodated to fit the screen. If that's the case, you just have a slightly larger font style with all of the bullet points. Whatever works best for you. Some of our YouTube presentations will be broken down by artificial intelligence. She has her introduction, health, relationships, financial, quality of work, and then we get to the conclusion. This is right in the sweet spot for this class, roughly about 6 minutes. Most of you will probably fall into that category. Pay attention to her research, her structure, her eye contact, her ability, as with our 3 YouTube presenters today, the ease at which she looks and appears on camera discussing the topic, Why You Should Not Procrastinate. Here we go.
Hello everyone, my name is Jocelyn Keller, and today I'm presenting my persuasive speech, Why You Should Not Procrastinate. Psychologists say that procrastinators are made by their environment and not born. 95% of the population is prone to procrastination, but that's separate from the 20% of the population that's prone to chronic procrastination. Chronic procrastination can be a disorder only treatable by cognitive behavioral therapy. It's brought on by poor self-regulation. This can be fostered in authoritarian families where the parents overregulate the children, and the children therefore have a poor sense of self-regulation. Doctors identify 3 main types of procrastination and procrastinators, here listed below. 1, the thrill seekers who wait until the last minute to get to the euphoric rush of the stress. Avoiders who are typically concerned with what other people think of them and avoid due to fear of the failure or even success. And lastly, decisional procrastinators who avoid making a choice because they feel as if it alleviates the responsibility of whatever the outcome may be. Studies have found that procrastination also has effects on your health. There's a correlation between procrastination and decreased general health. The effects may include lowered immune system, which means more susceptibility to colds specifically, susceptibility to obesity, gastrointestinal problems, insomnia due to procrastination of sleep, which can even then lead to sleep deprivation, which can lead to heart problems and more obesity, and Poor mental and emotional health as well. People who procrastinate can feel ashamed of their procrastination and guilty about it. That can lead to low self-esteem, self-loathing, anxiety, depression, and it just propagates the cycle of procrastination. People who procrastinate also have higher levels of muscle tension, of migraines. They're more prone to do drugs because the poor impulse control and self-regulation go hand in hand with drug abuse. And procrastinators in general have poor health because they oftentimes will procrastinate going to the doctor. Procrastination also has a heavy stress on relationships, whether it be professional relationships like coworkers, team members, or business partners. If you procrastinate your task, they will lose faith in your ability to do the task. You could jeopardize your position, and you could even prevent yourself from ever rising up the ladder again, making you miss opportunities. Peer relationships, which could be students, project partners, extracurricular groups. If you procrastinate the completion of your share of work and lead to the undue stress of all of your teammates, then not only will they be unduly stressed, but then you will too. And that may even ruin a friendship or acquaintanceship. And personal